Well, Ohio's GOP leaders are engaging in an effort to make it significantly harder for voters to amend the state's constitution. And abortion advocates say that this is a direct attempt to block any voter-driven effort to protect reproductive rights and abortion in the state constitution. Now, here's what the Ohio GOP is up to. This is what they're trying to do. Secretary of State Frank LaRose and State Representative Brian Stewart are spearheading an effort to require, this is very familiar, 60% of voters to enact citizen-led amendments instead of a simple majority of 50% plus one vote. The measure, unveiled Thursday, comes in the form of a proposed amendment that voters would need to approve before it takes effect. Now, the resolution introduced by Stewart needs to pass both the state House and Senate with 60% of the vote to be placed on the ballot. LaRose said he hopes to put the question before voters in the May election, which means the legislature would need to pass it by the end of the year. Now, keep in mind that Republicans do in fact hold supermajorities in both the House and the Senate, so no Democratic support is needed in order to advance this measure. And here's what the Ohio State Representative Brian Stewart has to say about the effort. Ohio's constitution has been far too susceptible to efforts by outside groups and special interests seeking to alter the people's constitution to achieve their own ends. We have repeatedly watched as special interests buy their way onto the statewide ballot and then spend millions of dollars drowning the airwaves, seeking to secure fundamental changes to our state. Now, as we have experienced with the legislative filibuster in the Senate, getting a 60% vote in favor of something is incredibly difficult to do. And so, especially when you consider how the demographics of voters are split. And when I talk about demographics, I'm specifically talking about like political ideology and party affiliation. And so it looks like Republicans are poised to make this happen. And this is what happens when you are part of a political ideology that's incredibly unpopular. You essentially have to give yourself the leg up in the democratic process to make it increasingly difficult for people who oppose you to be able to make their votes count in opposing you. And that's what's happening.
Okay, so this is even more nefarious than most people are reporting. So number one, of course they realize, we're the minority, it turns out. And they gerrymandered Ohio and many other states so badly that they have supermajorities, even though they lose overwhelmingly on issues like abortion. I think it's 68% of the people, 68% of people in Ohio are pro-choice, okay? 84% say that there should be exceptions for rape or incest. But the Ohio gerrymandered government says no exception for rape or incest. Screw 84% of our citizens. We don't care what they think. What do you think, this is a democracy? And then people are like, okay, well, let's put it on a ballot measure and see what they actually think. No. That's why they want to increase it to 60%, because they know that they're unpopular. But it's not just about abortion. It's about many other things too. $15 minimum wage is passing everywhere. Any ballot measure to increase the minimum wage passes. It doesn't matter how red the state is, right? So they're like, no, that would hurt our beloved corporations, our donors. Stop it, stop them from passing these goddamn laws. What are we, in a democracy? We had a perfect racket here. We totally cornered the market.
Totally.
And by the way, the other thing they cornered is corporate media and Democratic opposition. Even though 68% of Ohioans agree with Nan Whaley, who ran for governor, she lost by 26 points. How do you lose that badly? I mean, I know that there are other issues, but by the way, on all the economic issues, the people of Ohio agreed with Nan Whaley. But the Democratic Party is so incompetent, and mainstream media never points out the real problems with the Republicans. Like, this is an outrage. They're trying to steal democracy right from underneath you. Go ahead, turn on any local news in Ohio and see if they tell you that the Republicans are trying to steal your democracy away from you. They would never say that, because they would say, no, we have to be politically correct. We can't tell our audience what's actually correct. We have to be politically correct and say, maybe you don't need democracy. Maybe the Republicans are trying to help democracy by taking it away from you. Because they have to be neutral.
Now, keep in mind that proponents of abortion rights in the state of Ohio were thinking to organize an effort to put abortion rights in a ballot initiative in upcoming elections. They want to ban Ohio's 6-week abortion ban, which, by the way, 6-week abortion ban just means that the abortions are banned, period, in the state of Ohio. Most women don't know they're pregnant at 6 weeks, and they know that. But Secretary of State Frank LaRose denies that this effort to require a 60% vote has anything to do with the abortion matter. He says, quote, if somebody thinks that their favorite issue is not capable of mustering a 60% vote, then maybe they should think twice about proposing that as a constitutional amendment.
Your favorite issue, abortion, polls at 32%.
Yep.
So you're not capable of mustering 50%, let alone 60%.
Right.
So by your own definition, you should figure out a different way to do it. No, they're never gonna let you have an actual voice in what was supposed to be your government. By the way, you wanna know a great irony of this? The measure to make sure that other measures require 60% only has to pass by 50%. So they're not even holding themselves to the same standard. They're like,
is that
obviously,
true?
Yeah, it is 100%. So in the legislature, it's different requirements. But for the ballot measure to pass, to make it super hard to pass other ballot measures, you only need 50% plus one. Okay, so there's no end to their irony here. And by the way, they're not the only ones trying to do this. Right now, similar supermajority proposals are being proposed in Arkansas, Missouri, and South Dakota.
Of course.
By the way, what are all 3 of those places? 3 red states that have all passed very popular progressive ballot measures. Missouri overwhelmingly voted for a higher minimum wage. South Dakota voted against corruption, and by the way, Arkansas also voted for a higher minimum wage, and they hate that. So the corporate executives are telling the Republican politicians, remember who you work for. Make sure you snuff out the voters and any rights that they have so we retain control.